used to read a couple of things that you have heard on the part 2, but I kind of left it in the funny way, so we can just pick up, What is caucus-race? Said Alice, not that she much wanted to know, but the dodo had paused as if it thought that somebody ought to speak, and no one else seemed inclined to say anything. Why, sighed Dodo, the best way to explain it the best way to explain it to do it, and as you might like to try, think yourself. Some bitter day I will tell you of the Dodo managed it. First it marked out the race course in a sort of circle, and the exact shape doesn't matter, it said. And then all the party were placed along the course, here and there. There was no 1, 2, 3 and away, but they began running when they liked and left off when they liked, so that it was not easy to know when the race was over. However, when they had been running half an hour or so, and were quite dry again, the dodo suddenly called out, "The race is over," and they all crowded around it, panting and asking, "But who has won?" This question the dodo could not answer without great deal of thought, and it sat for a long time with one finger pressed upon its forehead, the position in which you usually see Shakespeare in the picture of him. While the rest waited in silence, at least the dodo said, "Everybody's won, all must have prizes, but who is to give it the prizes, Kite?" Chorus of a voice asked. "Why, she, of course," said the dodo, pointing to Alice with one finger, and the whole party at once crowded round her, calling out in confused the way, "Prizes, prizes." Alice had no idea what to do, and in despair she put her hand in her pocket and pulled out a box of comfits. Luckily she thought water had not got into it, and handed them round as prizes. There was exactly one piece all around, but she must have prized herself, said the mouse. "Of course," the dodo replied very gravely. "What else have you got in your pocket?" He went on, turning to Alice. "Only a thimble," said Alice sadly. "Hand it over here," said Dodo. The dodo is very rude. They all crowded round her once more, while the dodo summarily presented the thimble, saying, "We beg your acceptance of this elegant thimble." And when it had finished this sort of speech, they all cheered. Alice thought the whole thing very absurd, but they all looked so grave that she did not dare to laugh, and as she could not thinking of anything to say, she simply buckled and took the thimble, looking as solemn as she could. The next thing was to eat the comfits. This caused some noise and confusion, as the large bird complained that they could not taste theirs, and the small one choked and had to batter on the bag. However, it was over at least, and they sat down again in the ring, packed hate C and D. She added in whisper half, afraid that it would be offended again. Mine is a long and sad tail, said the mouse, turning to Alice in designing. It is long tail, certainly, said Alice, looking down with wonder at the mouse tail. But why do you call it sad? And they kept on puzzling about it while the mouse was speaking. So that her idea of the tail was something like this. Worry sighed to a mouse that he met in the house. Let us both go to laugh. I will prosecute you. Come, I'll take no denial. We must have a trial. For really this morning I've nothing to do, said the mouse to the car. Such a trial, dear sir, with no jury or judge, would be wasting your breath. I'll be judge, I'll be jury, said Cunning. I'll try the whole cause and condemn you to death. You are not attending, said the mouse to Alice surlily. What are you thinking of? I beg your pardon, said Alice very humbly. You had got to a fifth band, I think. I had not, cried the mouse angrily. I cannot, said Alice, always ready to make herself useful and looking anxiously about her. Oh, do let me help to undo it. I shall do nothing of the sort, said the mouse, getting up and walking away. You insult me by talking such nonsense. I didn't mean it, blended poor Alice. But you are so easily offended, you know. The mouse only growled in reply. Please come back and finish your story, Alice called after it, and the other all joined in chorus. Yes, please do, but the mouse only shook its head immediately and walked a little quicker. What a pity word! It wouldn't stay, sighed the lorry as soon as it was quite out of sight. And an old crab took the opportunity of saying to her daughter, "Ah, my dear, let this be a lesson to you never to lose your temper. Hold your tongue, ma," said the young crab, a little snappishly. "You're enough to try the patience of an oyster. Oh my gee, I wish I had your Dinah here." "I know I do," said Alice aloud, addressing nobody in particular as he soon pats it back. "And who is Dinah, if I might venture to ask the question?" sighed the lorry. Alice replied eagerly, for she was always ready to talk about her pet. "Dinah, our cat, and she's such a capital one for catching mice. You can't think. And oh, I wish you couldn't see her after the birds. Why, she'll eat the little birds as soon as look at it." This piece caused a remarkable sensation among the party. Some of the birds hurried off at once. One, the old magpie, began wrapping its up very carefully, remarking, "I really must be getting home. The night air doesn't suit my throat. I really must be getting home. The night air doesn't suit my throat." And as Scenery called out, it trembled Alice was soon left alone. I wish I hadn't mentioned Dinah, she said to herself in melancholy tone. Nobody seemed to like her down here, and I'm sure she's the best cat in the world, oh my dear Dinah. I wouldn't if I shall ever see you anymore. And here poor Alice began to cry again, for she felt very lonely and low-spirited. In a little while, however, she again heard a little pattering of footsteps in the distance, and she looked up eagerly, half hoping that the mouse had changed his mind and was coming back to finish his story. The rabbit sent in a little bill. It was the white rabbit, trotting slowly back again and looking anxiously about as it went, as if it had lost something, and she heard it muttering to itself, the touches, oh my dear paws, oh my fur and fingers, she'll get me executed as sure as ferrets are ferrets. Where can I have dropped them, I wonder? Alice questioned in the moment that I was looking for the fan and a pair of white kid gloves, and she very good naturally began hunting about for them, but they were nowhere to be seen. Everything seemed to have changed since her swim in the pool, and the great hall pit, the glass table, and the little door had vanished completely. Very soon the rabbit noticed Alice as she went hunting about and called out to her in angry tone, "Why, Marianne, what are you doing out here? Run home this moment and fetch me the pair of gloves and a fan quick now." And Alice was so much frightened that she ran off at once in the direction it pointed to, but without trying to explain the mistake it had made. "He took me for his housemaid," she said to herself as she ran off surprised. "He'll be when he find out who I am, but I'd better take him his fan and gloves. That is, if I can find them." As she said this, she came up a neat little house, on the door of his as bright brass place with the name White Rabbit engraved upon it. She went in without knocking and hurried upstairs in great fear lest she should meet the real Marianne and be turned out of the house before she had found the fan and gloves. How queer it seems, Alice sighed to herself, to be going message for a rabbit. I suppose Tina will be sending me a message next. And she began fancying the sort of thing that would happen. "Miss Alice, come here directly and get ready for you, Walk. Coming in a minute, nurse." But I got to see that the mouse doesn't get out. Only I don't think, Alice went on, they'd let Dina stop in the house if it began ordering people about like that. By this time she had found her way into a tidy little room with a table in the window, She took upon the fan and a pair of clothes and was just going to leave the room when her eye fell upon a little puddle that stood near the looking glass. There was no label this time with the words "Drink me," but nevertheless she unscrewed it and put it to her lips. "I know something interesting is sure to happen," she said to herself. "Whenever I eat or drink anything, so I'll just see what this bottle does. I do hope it'll make me grow larger again, for really I'm quite tired of being such a tiny thing." It didn't so indeed, and much sooner than she had expected. Before she had drunk half of the bottle, she found her head pressing against the ceiling and had to stop to save her neck from being broken. She hastily put down the bottle, saying to herself, "That's quite enough. I hope I hadn't grown any more. As it is, I can't get out of the door. I do wish I hadn't drunk quite as much." Alas, it was too late to wish that. She went on growing and growing, and very soon had to kneel down to the floor. In another minute there was not even room for this, and she tried the effect of lying down with one elbow against the door and the other arm curled round her head, till she went on growing, and as least resources she put one arm out of the window and one foot up the chimney and said to herself, "Now I can do no more. Whatever happens, that will become of me." Luckily for Alice, the little magic bottle had now had its full effect, and she grew no larger. Still, it was very uncomfortable, and as there seemed to be no sort of chance of her ever getting out of the room again, no wonder she felt unhappy. It was much pleasanter at home, thought poor Alice, when one wasn't always growing larger and smaller and being ordered about by mice and rabbits. I almost wish I hadn't gone down the rabbit hole. And yet, it's rather curious, this sort of life. I don't wonder what can have happened to me when I used to read fairy tales. I vanished. That kind of thing never happened, and now here I am in the middle of one. They're out to the book written about me, that they're out, and when I grow up, I'll write one. But I'm grown up now, she added in one sorrowfully tone. At least there's no room to grow up anymore here. But then, thought Alice, I shall never get any older than I am now. I'll be comfort one way, never to be an old woman, but then always to have a lesson to learn. Oh, I sounded like that. Oh, you're foolish, Alice, she answered herself. Now can you learn lessons in here? Why, there's hardly room for you, and no room at all for any lesson books. So she went on taking first on side and then the other, and making quite conversation of it together, but after a few minutes she heard a voice outside and stopped to listen. Marianne, Marianne, said the voice, fetch me my gloves this moment. Then came a little pattering of feet on the stairs. Alice knew it was the rabbit coming to look for her, and she trembled till she shook the house, quite forgetting that she was now about 1,000 times as large as the rabbit, and had no reason to be afraid of it. Presently the rabbit came up to the door and tried to open it, but as the door opened inwards and Alice's elbow was pressed against it, that attempts proved a failure. Alice heard it say to itself, then I'll go round to get in the window. That you want, thought Alice, and after waiting till she vanished, she heard the rabbit just under the window. She suddenly spread out her hand and made a snatch in the air. She did not get hold of anything, but she heard a little shriek and a fall and a crash of a broken glass, from which she concluded that it was just possible it had fallen into a cucumber frame or something of that sort. Next came an angry voice. The rabbits. Pat, Pat, where are you? And then a voice she had never heard before. Sure, then I'm here digging for apples. Your honor. Digging for apples indeed, said the rabbit angrily. Here, come and help me out of that. Sounds of more broken glass. Now tell me, Pat, what that is that window, sir? It's an arm, yes, your honor. He pronounced it arm, an arm. You goose. Who ever saw one that size? Why, it fills the whole window. Sure it does, your honor, but it's an arm for all that. Sure, it's got no business there. At any rate, go and take it away. There was a long silence after this, and Alice could only hear whispers now and then, such as, sir, I don't like it, your honor, at all. Do as I tell you, you coward. And at least she spread out her hand again and made another snatch in the air. This time there were two little shrieks and more sounds of broken glass, with a number of cucumber frames. There must be that, Alice, I wonder what they'll do next. As for, excuse me. Just need to check one thing. So we are on the right page. So we didn't exactly skip one, There must be that, Alice. I wonder what they'll do next. As for pulling me out of the window, I only wish they could. I'm sure I for some time without hearing anything more. At least came a rumbling of a little cartwheels, and the sound of good many voices all taking together. She made out the words were the other ladder. Why I hadn't to bring but one bill, Scott. The other bill. Fetch it here, lad. Here, but at this corner. No. Tie them together first. They don't reach half high enough yet. Oh, they'll do well enough. Don't be particular. Here, Bill, catch hold on this rope. Will the rope bear? Mind that loose lead. Oh, it's coming down. Heads below and loud crash. Now, who did that? It was Bill, I fancy. To go down in the chimney. No, I shan't. You do it. That I want. Then, Bill's to go down. Here, Bill, the master says you to go down to the chimney. Oh, so Bill's got to go down the chimney, has he? Said Alice to herself. Why they seem to put everything upon Bill. I wouldn't be in Bill's place for good deal. This fireplace is narrow to be sure, but I think I can kick a little. She drew her foot as far down as the chimney as she could and waited till she heard a little animal. She couldn't guess. She couldn't. I think she drew her foot as far as down as the chimney as she could and waited till she heard a little animal. As she could in quest of what sort it was, scratching and scrambling about in the chimney close above her, then saying to herself, thinking his Bill. She gave one sharp kick and waited to see what would happen next. The first thing she heard was the loud chorus of their quest Bill. Then the rapid voices alone catch him, you by the legs. Then silence, and then another confusion of voices. Hold up his head, Brandy, now, don't choke him. How was it, old fellow? What happened to you? Tell us all about it. This came a little feeble, quaking voice. That's Bill, thought Alice. Well, I hardly know no more. Thank you, I'm better now, but I'm a deal too frustrated to tell you. All I know is something comes at me like a jack in the box, and up it goes like a skyrocket. So you did, old fellow, sighed the others. We must burn the house down, said the rapid voice, and Alice called out as loud as she could. If you do, I'll set dinner to you. There was a dead silence instantly, and Alice thought to herself, I wonder what they will do next. If they hadn't had any sense, they'd take the roof off. After a minute or two, they began moving about again, and Alice heard the rabbit say, a barrowful will do, to begin with, a barrowful of fat, thought Alice, but she had not long to doubt, for the next moment a shower of a little pebbles came rattling in the window, and some of them balls were all turning into little cakes as they lay on the floor, and the brain idea came into her head. If I eat one of these cakes, if I eat one of these cakes, as they lay on the floor, and the bright idea came into her head. I'm sorry, I'm bad writer. If I eat a cake, she thought, it's sure to make some change in my size. And as it can't possible to make me larger, it must make me smaller, I suppose. So she swallowed one of the cakes and was delighted to find that she began shrinking directly. As soon as she was small enough to get through the door, she ran out of the house and found quite a crowd of little animals and birds waiting outside. Their poor little lizard Bill was in the middle, being held up by two guinea pigs, who were giving it something out of a bottle. They all made a rush at Alice the moment she appeared, but she ran off as hard as she could and soon found herself safe in a thick food. The first thing I've got to do, said Alice to herself, as she wandered about in the wood, is to grow to my right size again, and the second thing is to find my way into the lovely garden. I think that will be the best plan. It sounded an excellent plan, no doubt, and very neatly and simply arranged. The only difficulty was that she had not that smallest idea of to set about it, and while she was peering about anxiously among the trees, a little sharp bark just over her head made her look up in the great hurry. An enormous puppy was looking down at her in the round eyes, and feebly stretching out one paw trying to touch her. Poor little thing, said Alice in a coaxing tone, and she tried hard to whistle to it, but she was terribly frightened all the time at the thought that it might be hungry, in which case it would be very likely to eat her up in spite of all her coaxing. Hardly knowing what she did, she picked up a little bit of a stick and held it out to the puppy, whereupon the puppy jumped into the air of all its feet at once with a yelp of delight, and rushed at the stick and made believe to worry it. Then Alice dodged behind the great desk to keep herself from being run over, and the moment she appeared on the other side, the puppy made another rush at the stick and tumbled head over heels in its hurry to get hold of it. Then Alice, thinking it was very like having a game of a play with a cart horse, and expecting every moment to be trampled under its feet, ran round the thistle again. Then the puppy began a series of short charges at the stick, running a very little way so she set off at once and ran till she was quite tired and out of breath, until the puppy bark sounded quite faint in the distance. And yet, what a dear little puppy it was, said Alice, as she leaned against Buttercup to rest herself and fanned herself with one of the leaves. I should have liked teasing it the Rex very much if I'd only been the right size to do it. Oh dear, I nearly forgetting that I've got to grow up again. Let me see how easy to manage. I suppose I ought to eat or drink something or what.